Well, guess what's coming for Mike Tyson? Pot rancher. The boxer turned actor now breaking ground on a 40-acre future Tyson ranch in California. The farm will include a marijuana cultivation school, supply store, and campgrounds. And speaking of pot, Ainsley.
Let's us into this next story. Thank you, Steve. California is the 8th and most populous state where recreational pot is now legal. But with more people likely getting high, what will the impact be on your health?
All right, let's ask Fox News A-Team's Dr. Mark Siegel is here. Dr. Siegel, we have, ever since Colorado passed it on their own in spite of federal law, we've been trying to study what legalizing would do. What are you finding?
First finding, of course, Colorado, talk about them since 2013, recreational marijuana has been legal. Brian, yes, they've raised about $500 million doing that with taxes and fees, but here's the problem. Fatal car accidents involving pot has doubled over that period of time. So that doesn't mean that pot's the cause, but they're finding that people that die in car wrecks, twice as many as before, have some marijuana in their system.
I know, Dr. Siegel, San Francisco Police Department saying 1 in every 4 drivers, 1 in every 4 that they're pulling over is stoned. This was before it was even legalized.
And in a way, it's worse than alcohol, Ainsley. It's in your system for days and days, THC, so it impairs judgment. That's what you need with driving. You know, it impairs how you're thinking, where you perceive the next car being. It's got to increase car accidents.
You also talk about pregnancy. So far you've signed it, and you know it leads to low birth weight. The fact that it's more accessible will make people do it more? Is that your...
No, I'm worried about morning sickness, Brian. Listen. And Ainsley knows this, when you're pregnant and you have morning sickness, it can be a really awful symptom. But I always tell my pregnant patients, don't take anything. You know, maybe some Mylanta, not marijuana. And there was a study out of Kaiser in California yet, where it's being legalized now, recreational, that already before recreational pot was legalized, already before 7% of pregnant women were using pot, and 20% under the age of 24. You know what that leads to? It leads to children that have behavioral problems, that can't focus, that have memory problems, that don't do as well in school. It leads to low birth weight infants, preterm labor. This is very bad for pregnancy.
So they have that full medical marijuana where anyone could really walk in with a prescription and get it even before January 1st of this year when they legalized it.
And now there's no one monitoring it.
Right. Yeah, what about brain health? When I was in high school, I remember people saying, if you do this, it's going to kill your brain cells. Is that a myth?
No, it actually does kill your brain cells, number one. It affects your heart and lungs, too. But in terms of that, that's the biggest problem. You do not perform as well on tests. You do not do as well in the workplace. It affects relationships. So long-term use, and we're talking about, you know, once a week. We're not talking about somebody that uses it once or twice. Regular use of pot definitely impacts relationships and thinking.
You've probably seen that. You've seen that in your patients.
I see it all the time. And I see it in the office all the time.
I think we all have. We all have someone in mind that, gosh, there were a lot of people in my high school I thought were so smart, and they would do that and then go down the wrong path.
And of course they use it with other things like alcohol. There's a huge increase of alcohol use among people that are also using pot.
Right, and you talk about that being a gateway drug, and you also talk about poisoning.
Gateway drug, per Bishop Allen, who talked to you yesterday, completely agree. Gateway drug to other drugs. Poisonings, it actually increases among teens. Like Colorado, 3 times as many teens ended up in the emergency room. They don't die from it, but they end up with rapid heart rate, paranoia, anxiety.
You're against this. And overall, the other thing that it's not on the card, but is edibles. Because they're unregulated, you don't know what you're eating. It comes in different types of food stuff sometimes.
Brian, that's where the poisonings are coming from. People are eating candy. They have it in drinks. Wow, this looks great. There's no stop sign on there. You know, at least when you're smoking it, you know how much you're getting. You do not know how much you're getting when you're eating it. It leads to emergency room visits. It leads to all kinds of paranoia, psychosis, very bad stuff.
You mentioned the gateway drug because we had the bishop on, like you said, and if for folks who weren't watching, he was saying that he was addicted to drugs, and he would smoke marijuana and then he wouldn't get a high off of it. So he'd have to smoke another one and then another one. And he'd smoke 4 in one sitting, I think he said, something like that. And then that would lead to another drug that he wanted to try because you don't get high if you continue to do it.
Yeah, when I debated the bishop, he said it led to opioid use, and then he had to be shocked out of it by being in prison. Of course, I believe in a therapeutic approach to that, but I think we have to start with pot. I think we have to start with marijuana, and I think making it easier for our teens to get is a huge problem here. And I think it definitely, look, 3 times as many people that are using pot are also drinking alcohol. The combination medically of alcohol and marijuana on the system, it puts you at big risk of car accidents, of doing a lot of things you're going to regret.
Yeah, they could put the counterpoint would be it's out there anyway. At least you'll be able to regulate it and get some tax dollars for it. We should really study now these 8 states and see if the federal government's going to actually start suing. Dr. Siegel, thanks so much.
It's a big problem for these states. You lose control medically. That's what I'm concerned about.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Dr. Siegel.